Hi, welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. I'm here today to tell you about this month's kit. This is our block of the month for our Facebook club, which is Rug Hooking and Symbol Punch Needle Club, and that's on Facebook. And I do a block every month as a kit. This month is going to be the first month that, if you want it, there will be an online Zoom class that accompanies this kit. It'll be 3 installments of about an hour each for beginners and anybody else who wants some different tips from a different person, and I'll get back to that later. But right now I want to introduce this month's kit. This is going to be a primitive this month, cut in a number 8. Everything is cut number 8, and there's a little bit of yarn in here. This block is called Try to Remember, based on my favorite song from the Fantastics, and I thought it had a real autumn look, sort of a maple sugary colored look with some autumn leaves, but also has an sort of end of the summer feel to it. This is a primitive, this is a symmetrical design I made by folding the paper in half. I've done that in another video. This is a sort of copy of a Baltimore album quilt. It's inspired by an album quilt, the kind of block you would get if you were doing applique as a quilter. I'm coming out with 8 more Baltimore album style blocks, Connie, this month to accompany this, and in the event that you want to do this one and then do 8 more and connect them as a set of 9. So there would be 3 different blocks, all different patterns. But this is the one for the month. And just to show you quickly, there's a few things going on here. There's the urn, or the vase, is made of wool, right? So this is 100% pure wool here. This is very thick, bulky wool. And I've got little bits of color changing wool, 100% wool again, in the stems. So there's a few different things going on. This may look like a complicated pattern for a beginner, but it's really not. This is a great pattern to start on because it's very simple lines, and there are a few moments of swirling, and certainly swirling for the flower shapes, the rose shapes. But that's the perfect thing to do together in a class situation if you haven't done it before. There's lots of ways to tackle these kinds of things. In fact, I did these flowers in 2 different ways in terms of technique, and they don't really look any different. So this is going to be a great block for people who are just beginning to hook. And it is a primitive cut 8. So if you are doing the Zoom class, your pattern will come like this on linen. And the reason I would put it on linen to start, because I normally use monk's cloth, is because it does have quite a bit of yarn. And the yarn, I think, is easier to get into the linen, this kind of thickness of yarn, but also the 8 cut primitive is a very wide cut. And even though I use a number 8 primitive cut for monk's cloth, it can be hard pulling back on your wrist. This is only a 10 by 10 square, but it is a little tough to pull it through each hole, whereas with linen, it's a bit more relaxed. You're going to have less of a hard time pulling that wide cut through. So your kit will include, whether you're doing the class or not, your kit will include this pattern, and your bag will come with the other bits and pieces that you need, and that will include the background material, which is the number 8 strips in 2 different colors. It says background on it, and as you can see in the pattern, around the edges of the motif, meaning the flowers and the urn, I used a darker color. The darker color is here, and then there's a second bunch, which is a lighter color that I used around the edges. You could reverse that if you prefer to reverse that. These are all style choices, but you have got both colors in this bag. You've got another bag that includes leaves and flowers. So the 2 colors of pink, there's actually 2 colors in all 3 flowers. The 2 colors of orange, the mixed orange and the more solid orange, the green for the softer leaves, the green leaves, and the brighter center color, this one here, for this leaf here. And there's some variation in there too on this one. So, and then the last pack is the yarn for the urn, and the 3 colors of yarn, the thinner yarn. So this dark one that I used to define the urn features, there's a lot of extra in there, so you could go all the way up with striping if that was your choice, design choice. And then the color changing green and the color changing orange. And I think these are both from River House, the Canadian store, that are excellent rug hooking store and yarn people. Jade, she's amazing. I think these are hers, and then I'll put a link. But anyway, these are in the center of these very small amounts, but real pretty. So these 3 baggies and your pattern will come with your kit. Now the classes are going to be given starting in the middle of September, either Tuesday Tuesdays or Thursdays, and the time slots I have, email me if you're interested, are like midday Eastern Standard Time or early evening, 6 o'clock evening Standard Time for about 1 hour. So we'll see how that goes. And I want to just communicate really clearly that if this would be the first class that you're taking, you will not be the worst one. You will not be the slow one. You will not be the one whose house is the messiest in the background of your screen. You will be the awesome one who learns and does a really good job, figures this out, and builds some confidence about working on some larger pieces in the future. But this is a great one to begin with. So whether you're interested in the class or not, this is this month's Try to Remember block, the first in a series of 9 Baltimore album inspired blocks, so quilt applique blocks inspired. And they will all be available in the next 2 weeks, meaning the first 2 weeks of September 2020. See you soon, and goodbye from Ribbon Candy Hooking.